welcome to the channel. In this video we're going to talk about playing live. Specifically, I'm going to offer some tips to hopefully alleviate some of the anxieties that come with live performances. Don't worry, it's not going to be one of those videos where, just be confident and everything will be alright. It's usually not as simple as that. So we're just going to crack on with the video and let's get to it. So before we crack on with the video, I'd like to invite you to hit the big red subscribe button down below. I'm really trying to grow the channel and get as many subscribers as I can. And if you could share this video with as many people as possible, that would be class. Now on to the video. So the first point I'm going to talk about, and it's a very obvious, a very easy one, but very overlooked, I would say, and that is rehearse and practice. This one can't really be overstated, and it applies to all ability levels. So whether you're trying to get your first gigs under your belt, or whether you've been playing for decades, you've got to rehearse and you've got to practice. It's as simple as that. So, for example, you not only got to rehearse your own individual parts for your parts in the songs, but you also got to put in the time in as a group. So you've got to rehearse your parts at home. So obviously when you're writing your part, make sure that they're actually up to scratch before you go into rehearsal. Otherwise you'll find yourself kind of like fumbling through them when you're actually supposed to be really like going through the song as a whole. So there's nothing more annoying than that in that sense. So that's one thing. And then obviously if you don't put enough time in as a band, that is going to affect your confidence collectively. It's not, so that's going to translate not only, it's going to, the gig is not going to be as good as it could be, and the audience are going to kind of see that you're under rehearsed and that you don't really know what you're doing. Now, make no mistake, there is a difference between a band that is just a bit underconfident and a bit inexperienced versus a band who just haven't put the time in. There's actually quite a difference, really, because I've seen bands, for example, where it's been their first couple of gigs maybe, and they sound like they've been playing for years. So the amount of time and effort that you put in is going to massively affect the end result. So yes, rehearse and practice. So not only rehearse your own parts and make sure they're as good as you possibly can get it, but also as a band, put the time in. It's simple as that. If you don't put the time in, you won't really get the results out of it, and you're going to have a pretty embarrassing gig, to say the least. So yes, rehearse and practice. So the second point I'm going to talk about is putting on a show. We're musicians, after all. That's what we're meant to do. Entertain people. Put on a spectacle. That's kind of the name of the game, really. There's actually more to live performance, believe it or not, than just playing the actual music properly. Now, sure, yes, you've got to actually get the songs up to a certain standard, but you've got to kind of entertain people, and you've got to kind of move around a bit, and give the crowd a reason to be there. Don't make them regret the experience, because there's kind of nothing worse in a way than a band who plays really well and really tightly, but there's no real show from them at all. I think the worst offenders in that are people who just stand there kind of really sheepishly and just look at their instruments and look up the audience like every so often, just to see if they're, I don't know, maybe they've gone or something. I don't know. It's kind of a bit odd, but I've seen people kind of with I guess what I can only describe as the accountant look. People have used that term a lot, and it does detract from it, because even though it sounds great and it does, and they're a tight band, you're kind of like, I don't know, it was all right. It just wasn't a spectacle. It wasn't entertaining enough, and a lot of it is a vision, and a lot of live gigs, a lot of the experience that comes with live gigs is as much as in the visuals as it is what you hear. Maybe it's a bit more the visuals. I'm not quite sure what the ratio is, but there's definitely a big leaning towards what you're seeing on stage as opposed to what you hear. So just move around a bit, like just own the stage a bit. I don't know, spin your head and spin your hair around and stuff like that. You just kind of get engrossed in the music that you're playing. Get engrossed in it, and the audience will be much more receptive to you, rather than if you just stand there. Because obviously, if you're playing in a metal band and you're just standing there like like you're bored, then the audience are just going to be like, well, I don't know, that's just, why am I here, sort of thing. So be entertaining, move around, and just give the audience a reason to be there. The next point I'm going to touch on, which is kind of related to the previous one, is making eye contact with your audience. Generally speaking, you don't really want to be playing with your back to the crowd unless you're looking at the drummer for like a cue or something like that. That's actually quite normal. Happens all the time. But you kind of want to face the crowd, face your audience as much as you can, really. And the whole thing with eye contact, it's a little bit, I've got to admit for myself, it's a little bit tentative. I always feel that, you know, when I look into the crowd and I'm trying to like see who's there and kind of establish that kind of rapport between us, I always feel if I hone in on one particular person for like that, you know, that millisecond too long, the creepy factor is going to set in. I'm always like really conscious of that. But I do give it an effort in that sense, because God knows I've been accused enough times of of not doing that. You know, the common complaint is like I played great and moved around and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't really look at the crowd that much. And I always say, well, I did look at the crowd. It's just like, yeah, my hair was in the way, but I did look at them. So maybe that's a thing on my part. Maybe I'm just maybe compensate the fact that, you know, maybe I find looking at the audience a little like a touch weird in that sense. But you know, that's just my thing, I guess. But I do try and give it an effort in that sense. So it's a bit of a tentative issue, I think. I try to look at them as more of like a collective entity, you know, rather than honing in on one single person. So that's something to work on, and I guess it's something I need to work on as well. And the final point, just to wrap it all up, have fun while doing it.